Welcome! Today we're going to talk about this awesome 2021 Tesla Model Y long-range all-wheel drive that we have for sale. One awesome battery electric vehicle, and it's now become the best-selling car in the world. Yeah, 2023 the Model Y was the best-selling vehicle in the world, unseating the Toyota Corolla, which is pretty surprising because these cost a lot more than a Toyota Corolla, but it just shows how popular these are throughout the world. So people might say, oh, there's a lot of there's a lot of misinformation about EVs, like, oh, now people are saying EVs are in decline. Well, there are some EVs that I think are kind of half-measure attempts at EVs. But, the Teslas are a pretty amazing product. They've been making EVs pretty much longer than than anyone. They started making their first EVs in the late 2000s with the Tesla Roadster. And their first full-on EV came out in 2012 with the Model S. We actually have a 2012 Model S. They've made millions of these things. So they have a lot of experience making EVs, and they're quite different than most other vehicles. They're even very different than most other EVs. And I think that's the reason why they're so popular. So, yeah, some EV business is declining for other people, but Tesla's EV business is not declining. Every year, they sell more and more vehicles. And probably this year, 2024, I anticipate they're going to sell more EVs than they did in 2023. So, more popular than ever. And the Model Y is the most popular of all the EVs and the most popular of all vehicles in the world right now, being the best-selling vehicle in the world for very good reason. It's very efficient, it's very smooth and quiet, it's very versatile. And 2021 is a great year for the Model Y. It did come out for the 2020 model year, but for 2021 we saw Tesla roll out some even more changes. And it wasn't the whole year. I think about halfway through 2021 we saw Tesla roll out some of these changes. Most notably, we have this nice redesigned center console. A little bit nicer than the previous console that they had, was a little bit more archaic as far as functionality goes. And then you can see here on the climate control screen, we see that biodefense. That's the biodefense logo. That stands for biodefense mode. So they added a biodefense mode to the Model Y. This has a HEPA filter in it, probably about the size, or if not bigger than the HEPA filter you have in your home HVAC system. It's very big. In fact, it's so big they can't quite fit it in the Model 3. The Model 3 is just too small to fit this giant HEPA filter. So right now it's only available in the Y, the X, and the S. And it's gigantic, and it can filter out a lot of pollutants, a lot of dangerous particles. People in areas where they had forest fires, where they had really smoky air that was dangerous to breathe, people actually sought refuge in their Teslas with this feature, and it cleaned the air. And it just doesn't clean the air outside the vehicle. It continues to recirculate and clean the air inside the vehicle. So if you have allergies, asthma like me, this thing is great, especially in times of year where there's a lot of pollen, or if there's smoky air from forest fires, which even can affect us, even though the forest fires might be hundreds or more miles away. We all run into those situations, so the biodefense mode is great. And what it does is it pressurizes the interior, so it doesn't allow any outside air to get in, except by the way of that HEPA filter. And they've done tests, and it's not a gimmick, it actually really works. So that was a new feature we saw come out in 2021 on the Model Y. So you can see that the majority of the functionality is in this screen. The rest of the Model Y is pretty devoid of buttons and knobs. Some people ridicule the Model Y and the Model 3 for a lack of buttons and stuff, and saying, oh, well, it's horrible that they have everything, you have to do everything through the screen. Well, you could say that, but there are a lot of pros to it too. For one, it keeps the interior nice and clean. It's like a sensory deprivation chamber. It's very quiet and serene in here, and you're not overly cluttered, or it's not sensory overload of all these buttons and knobs, which can sometimes be overwhelming. So the majority of the functionality is in this screen, yes, but it's infinitely reconfigurable. They're constantly updating it, improving it, adding things. And when you have things tied to hard buttons and knobs, you can't fix that. For instance, Tesla did a recall recently, and when they do recalls, most of the recalls on Teslas, you don't even have to bring them in the Tesla. It's just a software update. Well, they did a software update because the Tesla is forced to recall all their vehicles because of the size of the ABS, and some of the warning lights were too small. I guess the government didn't like the size of the font, so Tesla just did a software update and was able to change the font for some of these warning lights, like the ABS warning light, things like that. Where a lot of other cars, since those lights are actually on the gauge cluster, you'd have to bring it to a dealership and change the gauge cluster. It'd be a lot more involved type of repair. So that's kind of the magic of this screen, and it's changed. It's evolved over the years. They've added things like blind spot cameras, which Teslas didn't always have, just with a software update, and it will continue to be better and be relevant, and it'll continue to be updated and be relevant in the future. Even my 2019 Model 3, even though it's getting older, it's 2024, my screen looks pretty much the same as this one on this 2021 with the over-the-air updates. It has gotten better and improved over the years. It's just not just getting older. So that's the magic of the over-the-air updates and the magic of having all the functionality in this screen. And Tesla has voice commands, so you don't have to, there's like 150 different voice commands, so you don't have to swipe through all these menus to do things like putting on the wipers. You just go, wipers on 1. See? Wipers off. Rear defroster on. So there's 150 different voice commands, so you don't even have to look off the road to do a lot of changes to things. So, all the people that say you have to do everything through swiping through the screen, that's not true. Lots of cool stuff while you're parked. You can stream movies, Netflix, TikTok, Disney+, Tesla tutorials, YouTube. There's also an internet browser. You can play video games. You can even hook up like an Xbox style controller so you can play video games that way. Some of the video games, like the car driving games, you can use this actual steering wheel and gas and brake pedal. Then you have the toy box, the silly things like the whoopee cushion, multi-track recorder. You have the boom box where you can kind of talk through the horn in like a scary voice. You can make the horn sound like a fart. All sorts of different sounds. Pretty cool stuff. And with the over-the-air updates, we'll continue to see new features arrive on this Model Y. All right, I have a tendency to ramble on about these vehicles, but just so much to talk about. The Model Y really has a lot of space inside, but people are really surprised about how much space it has. I'm a little under 6'2", and look at all its headroom I have. Plenty of legroom back here. Remarkable how much space this has, and the reason is it's not hampered by the conventional construction of a gas car with gas tanks and drive shafts and exhaust systems. With an electric car, electric powertrain, it allows for a lot more space for passengers and for cargo. You have a lot of cargo space back here. You can fold down the seats as well. It even has a camp mode too if you want to camp in here. And you have even more storage under here and some storage on the sides. And that doesn't include the front, which is additional storage. There's also a tow hitch here. Obviously, this is not a heavy-duty tow vehicle, but I think you can tow right around 3,500 pounds without any problem with a Model Y. There is some nice roof rail crossbars. In fact, there's one Model Y in the news, and I don't recommend this. They got pulled over towing a semi-truck trailer, which is pretty crazy, but it just shows you how powerful these electric motors are. This thing is really fast as well. 0 to 60 under 5 seconds. You have instantaneous thrust with these electric motors. The handling is quite amazing as well. It has a very low center of gravity, and it's very, very safe. One of the safest vehicles on the road. Well, there you have it. One beautiful example of a 2021 Model Y long-range all-wheel drive. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful day.